If you're struggling with an eating disorder and think there is no end in sight, watch this video because I was suffering from bulimia for 28 years and I'm recovering. And in this video, I'm gonna tell you my story. Hi, my name is Ellie, and in this video I'm gonna tell you about my story, how I started with my eating disorder and why or how I made it that I'm recovering today. I have to start back in my early childhood because I grew up in a very difficult family. I wasn't born in Germany. I live in Germany, but I wasn't born here. I was born in Romania. My father was a doctor. He came from Africa and my mom was Romanian. We moved to Germany because as a doctor he found work here. And I have to say that my father was an alcoholic and my mom started drinking with him. When he left our family in 1983, I was 5 years old and he wanted to come back, but he couldn't. So it was from then on, it was a very, very tough time because my mom didn't speak the language. She's a teacher and she couldn't work. We were still very, very young. We didn't have the money and my mom started drinking and blaming my father especially. So that was terrible because I very often felt helpless. And of course, if you think of a family where there are so many problems, a mother that starts drinking, there is not really the big possibility for a child to feel secure, to feel loved, to feel accepted, to feel right. I remember my mom saying once that your father left and you stayed. So what did I do? What the hell did I do that I was blamed that much? I remember that very much. So I felt like a pain in the ass, to be honest. But this is how I grew up. At the age of 13, my father came to Germany for a week to visit us. That was the last time that I saw him. 6 months later, I was in the middle of a big diet, and tried to lose weight because I felt it was too fat and I wanted to be skinny. Of course, I was in puberty, but I think that family event really, that was the kickoff for me. My mom always used to speak in a very bad way about my father, and when he came, she started to drink again with him, and that was terrible. Yeah, as I said, 6 months later, I was in the middle of a big diet. One evening, I remember that I was starving again because I thought that not eating is the way and you have to be starving, otherwise you don't lose weight. And I was so hungry and I ate something. It was the first night that I threw it up. I felt bad in the first place, but on the next day I weighed myself and I realized I lost weight. For me, that was a solution of striking simplicity. So I decided, okay, I will do that, just as long as I have a certain weight. That was my plan. And as you might imagine, one day I reached that dream weight, and of course I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop losing weight, I couldn't stop throwing my food up. And I realized that I had a problem. I talked to my mom, but she didn't believe me. So I went to a clinic to do a therapy there. She also had to come, of course, because I was still a youngster. And that was really the beginning. So I changed from psychologist to psychologist. I grew older. I started to use other substances in order to numb myself. Everything just became very, very difficult. So I moved out at the age of, I think, 18 because the situation at home got really terrible. From then on, really everything got worse and worse, and all the other addictions that I had besides to food became more difficult. And one day in 2005, I decided to stop the contact between my mom and me. I didn't really realize it, but I think that was the point when recovery could start. because I was so depending on my mother and the love that she could never really give me the way that I needed it. And I was emotionally dependent on her, and also financially. And I had to grow up. I still was that little child, still wanting your mother to love you and to give you something she couldn't. Don't get me wrong, today I know that she did the best that she could. She did a lot for me, but I wanted something else, and I think that she didn't get that herself. So it's difficult to pass something if you didn't experience it yourself. In 2007, I got clean. I went to a program, an anonymous program, due to my recovery from drugs. For the first time in my life, I was able to really take a close look at my eating disorder. Today is 2021, and I started my recovery from my eating disorder only in 2020, last year. So you see, from starting my recovery from drugs in 2007, 13 years had passed. That was the time really I was really taking a close look at my food and at my feelings and at my very low self-confidence. I went to a therapist in 2008. I just gave it one last shot. I went to that group before, I told you, and someone told me if I went to a psychologist, that could help me in my recovery. I went to a psychologist and I gave it one last shot. That really started to help me. I will never forget the day when I sat there and she was telling me that I'm not a bad person. It's an illness. It's not a character defect. I'm not a bad person. I'm not a monster. I just had a very difficult childhood. I never received the love and acceptance and security that I needed. For me, it was very difficult to love and accept myself. I was sitting there and crying because I had no idea. It was a very long way from then on, a very long way of really little steps of accepting myself, acting as if I loved myself, talking about the past, dealing with the here and now, dealing with many difficult situations. And finally, I can say that I started my recovery in 2020, in March 2020, so I've got almost 1 year. I'm very grateful for that, really. I'm absolutely grateful because I was waiting for this for such a long time. And there were times when I thought, it would never ever happen to me, never ever happen. And I asked my psychologist, do you think that I will ever recover in this life? And she said, yes, I think so. Yes, one day you will. And I am. And so can you. And this is why I shared this video. I can tell you today, recovery now depended on really a lot of work that I was doing before. That is to say, really accepting my defects, accepting me for who I am, telling myself that I am a good person, treating myself in a good way, loving myself, trying to love myself, trying to find little things I could love, but above all, really accepting myself with all my thoughts that I have. That was really a long way, and it takes time. It really takes time. I want to give you some hope because I used to watch videos on YouTube myself and I tried stuff and I was so envious of other women who were recovering and I couldn't. And I wanted to. But then one day I really realized that I didn't want to because I wanted to recover on the one hand, but I didn't want to let go of my perfectionism, let go of the way I wanted others to see me, that security that I gained from that thinness that in fact I didn't really see. I wasn't able to control anything, but I was able to control my food and to control my body and to control my feelings based on my food and my body. And I had to let go of that step by step. I had to let go of that perfectionism. I had to let go of my will to control everything and to have it the way I wanted it. It's been a long time. A lot of things happened to me, and this is one video, and I hope you liked it. I will share many more with you, telling you really what I've learned so far. I'd be very happy if you could drop a like and sub to the channel if you liked it. Thanks. Bye.